us. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Jo-Anna Nieves, who is with us. Jo-Anna, eager to hear your thoughts on this case. This is a potential death penalty case if there is a conviction here. And we saw the mother of this victim just emotional when watching this portion of the trial. What are your thoughts on this one?
Good morning, Julia. I think one of the things we need to keep in mind is that it's a death penalty case. So I think what this witness is actually laying out right now is going to contribute to that especially heinous, atrocious, cruel aspect, or the cold, calculated, premeditated nature of the killing. So she's painting this particularly gruesome scene of an 8.5-month pregnant woman discarded on the roadside, laying in her own vomit with hair hanging from the tree. I think this is stuff that the prosecution is going to weave into their closing arguments when they're asking for special findings. And we're dealing with the defense pointing to an alternative theory that maybe there were some other men who were the father in her life as an escort because it could have contributed to this. There's more to be seen on how they're going to paint this defense. But I think that the little pieces that we know so far of the defendant's kind of facts against him are not working in his favor.
Yeah, they're in Florida. In terms of the death penalty, some of the aggravators that prosecutors have to use, there's only a handful of them, but heinous and atrocious, cruel and unusual. Those are the kind of words, cold and calculated. Are prosecutors thinking about the penalty phase while they are in the guilt phase? Because this is going to be the same jury if there's a conviction.
Absolutely. They want to make sure that the things that they argue are brought out in evidence, right? And so they need to build their case from the very beginning. I think, realistically, prosecutors and defense attorneys are thinking about the closing arguments and the penalty phase at the very outset of the case, so that the way they strategically approach the witnesses they call and the things that they elicit through testimony are to serve them in the end.
Jo-Anna, thank you for that analysis. We're going to get to our break because we're going to go in to hear more from this crime scene investigator on the stand in the case against Jose Soto Escalera. Stay with us. Was it a married man or an escort client? Let's go back to Florida, where the jury is hearing day one of testimony in the Pregnant-Mistress murder trial. The defendant is Jose Soto Escalera. He was accused of murdering his 23-year-old pregnant mistress after she reportedly refused to get an abortion. Prosecutors also say that she was threatening to tell Soto Escalera's wife about their relationship back when she was killed in 2018. On the stand now is a crime scene investigator who's been showing different photos to this jury of this road where the victim's body was found, and she's about to talk about a wrapper that was found and whether or not they could find fingerprints. Let's go back into court for more.
This is just the same area documenting all the cones that are within the vicinity of the victim. We're marking the tire impression that's there between G and H, a cup, and some beer cans that were around the victim's body.
I'll go through states 74, and then I'll go to state 75, states 76. What are we looking at in 76?
This is a paper napkin that was on the ground just to the left of the victim's body, a little bit ahead to the east of her head.
Right. As the crime scene investigator, when you arrive on the scene, do you know all the facts?
No.
Most of the time, do you not have very much information at all?
Correct. I don't have a lot of information ever.
So do you collect everything that you see?
Not necessarily everything, but we do a lot of documentation and collect a lot of material from most crime scenes.
So we'll go to States Exhibit 77, States Exhibit 78, States Exhibit 79, States Exhibit 80, States Exhibit 81, States Exhibit 82, States Exhibit 83. The photos that I just went through, what are you documenting in these?
Just all the photo markers and cones, with the exception of, I think it was States Exhibit 82 and 83. Everything was on the south side of the road, except for that. This Coke Zero bottle was on the northern edge of the road. but we just document all those cones and all those items so that we know what is there.
So now we're going to pull up states 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. What are we looking at in this photograph? Cone U?
Let me check my report. That's just a disturbance in the grass area that was noted that it was knocked down and in the dirt. So it was photographed and documented.
All right, then we'll go to States Exhibit 94, States Exhibit 95, States Exhibit 96. What are we looking at in States 96?
This is a photograph depicting photo marker V as in Victor, and it's a condom wrapper that was located close to the intersection of Johnston and Russo.
States Exhibit W, or States Exhibit 97, photo marker W. What are we looking at here?
This image depicts photo marker W, also very close to the intersection of Johnston and Russo, and it's a T-shirt that was located on the side of the road.
All right, and then we have States Exhibit 99. Is this the same shirt?
Yes.
And then we have States Exhibit 101, and then States Exhibit 102. What are we looking at in 102?
This is the area to the west, so standing on Russo's Road, looking towards the west, the intersection of Johnston and Russo, showing the conditions of the weather and the intersection and everything that we see. You can start to see this is more towards the afternoon because there's some storm clouds there in the sky.
So now I want to talk a little bit about the physical evidence that you collected. When you collect physical evidence at a crime scene, what are the other tests that a crime scene investigator can do to those items, or at least prepare for them to be tested by someone else?
You're asking what will I do with them once I take them from the crime scene?
Yes.
Okay. So once we collect evidence as crime scene investigators, we can take them back to our lab and we can examine them for biological fluids, which would include the blood, saliva, semen, and urine, anything that might help us with our investigation. We can process it for latent fingerprints. We can collect DNA swabs from it. We can take clippings from it. We can do all kinds of things depending on what the item is.
All right. And are you able to do fingerprint examination?
Yes, I am.
I guess, did you examine items for fingerprints in this case?
Yes, I did.
And did you also swab items for DNA in this case?
Yes, I did.
But this time I want to show you what's been marked for identification, States Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I recognize States Exhibit 7 as I have labeled it in my handwriting. DNA swabs, top portion of flashlight, PMB.
All right, so you testified earlier, the photo marker, that there was a flashlight that was found in the grass?
Yes.
And did you swab that flashlight for DNA?
Yes, I did.
And is that what States Exhibit 7 is?
Yes.
At this time, State would move States Exhibit 7 into evidence of 7.
No objection.
Now, I want to ask you some items about, and before I ask you about, did you do fingerprint analysis? How is it that you're able to do fingerprint analysis?
As I said earlier, I'm trained as a latent print examiner. I am a certified latent print examiner through the International Association for Identification. And to become a certified latent print examiner, you have to have education. Depending on your level of education, you have to have a certain number of years in the field. For my level of education, I had to have a minimum of 3 years of work experience as a latent print examiner. I have to go through 2 years of supervised casework while I'm in training or doing on-the-job training, in addition to all my classroom hours of training. And again, that was over 300 hours. And then once I meet all the qualifications for testing, I have to take a test. It's a 200 question test that I have to get a 85% or better to pass the first portion of the test. And then I have to do a comparison portion of the test, which I have to get 100% and make 13 correct conclusions.
And have you testified in court as a fingerprint analyst before?
Yes.
So in this particular case, did you process 10 separate items that were found on the scene?
Yes, I did.
And would those include 5 Bud Light beer cans, 2 Budweiser beer cans, a Coke Zero bottle, and a plastic cup?
Yes.
Were you able to obtain anything of evidentiary value from any of those items?
No, I was not.
All right, and what does that mean?
it means that I just wasn't able to obtain fingerprints from those particular items. Latent fingerprints are an unintentional recording or recording of digital or friction-rich skin on your fingers and palms or on the soles of your feet. And those, fingerprints being left can be affected by the conditions of the item when you're touching it. It can be affected by the conditions where they are left.
All right, we've got an objection, so we're going to slip on a break of our own. I can tell you there are so many tears that are falling in the gallery. We're seeing the family of this victim sitting there behind the prosecutor when the prosecutor's asking those questions. Difficult witness to listen to if you're someone who knew this victim. Let's get to our break. When we come back, more of the crime scene investigator testifying in the Pregnant-Mistress murder trial. But we're turning our attention now back to the other Florida trial that we are watching, where they are in live court, the Pregnant-Mistress murder trial for Jose Soto Escalera. He's accused of murdering his 23-year-old pregnant mistress after she allegedly refused to get an abortion. And prosecutors say that Tanya Wise, the victim here, she was also threatening to tell Soto Escalera's wife about their relationship. That was just before she was killed back in 2018. Let's go into the courtroom now. We're listening to a crime scene investigator helping this jury understand how they pieced the evidence together in the case.
I guess conditions that can affect whether or not you get fingerprints off of a certain item.
Yes.
Okay, and can that be the condition of where the item's left?
Yes.
For example, if it's left outside,
Yes.
in the rain or exposed to the elements?
I'll sustain the objection to the last part of the question.
Can the elements or the weather have anything to do with the condition of a fingerprint?
Yes. Fingerprints are mostly water, 99 to 99% water, so they are subjective to the conditions that they are in.
So from the items that you found, you didn't get any fingerprints.
Yes.
Now I want to ask you, did you also attend the autopsy on August 25th of 2018 of Miss Wise in this case?
Yes.
And was that autopsy performed by Dr. Linda O'Neill?
Yes, it was.
As the crime scene investigator, what is your role at the autopsy?
At the autopsy, my role was to document, again, take photographs, document, and collect and preserve any evidence that we had found or collected during the autopsy.
And did you collect evidence at this autopsy?
Yes.
At this time, what I'd like to show you has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 9. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 9?
Yes, I recognize State's Exhibit 9, labeled as DNA Baby Boy Wise, and it's labeled in my handwriting.
All right. How do you go about, collecting a particular item of evidence in general?
It varies from item to item and what we're collecting and what we're doing. For this particular one, this is a blood standard, so the blood is taken from the person and placed on a card with 4 little circles of the blood.
All right. And this is the blood, in this exhibit, this is the blood from baby boy Josiah Wise from the autopsy.
Yes.
At this time, the state will move into evidence which is marked for identification. State's Exhibit 9. The evidence is 9.
No objection.
That item will come into evidence without objection.
What I'd like to show you is, did you also take swabs related to the victim's body during the autopsy?
Yes, I did.
What I'd like to provide you with is State's Exhibits 10 through 20. If you could go through 10 through 20 and just let me know if you're ready.
All right, it's going to take a little bit of time for the crime scene investigator there to go through those documents that ultimately will show the DNA match. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Jo-Anna Nieves. Jo-Anna, DNA matching this defendant to the unborn child is huge in this case.
It just goes to the motive, right? We know that he gave her money for an abortion. We know that he was hiding her from his wife and 4 kids. And when the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, right? A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So that's what the state is going to pounce on, that if he's lying to his wife and he's even denying involvement with her to law enforcement, and now, because he tells law enforcement, oh, there's no way that this can be my child, but DNA evidence is linking to you as the father of this child, you have a lot to lose and you're afraid of losing your family, your kids finding out. this is probably the way the state is going to paint the picture of him disposing of his problem.
Oh, yeah. And when we haven't heard it yet, but the prosecution teased it in their opening statement that they have him on recorded call, not necessarily a wiretap, but in some way this was recorded where he's telling his friend, my life is over. If my wife finds out, my life is over. Those are the things that go to a very strong motive, but perhaps they don't have anything at the crime scene. What do you think, Jo-Anna? Because we don't have fingerprints. We've already heard that. I don't know that there's any DNA or a weapon that's been recovered. We'll see. We know he was asking about a ghost gun, which would be pretty hard to track down any other way.
I think the lack of latent fingerprints might be a bit distracting for the jury, but I think the prosecution is doing a good job of pulling out from this witness what may affect why there are no fingerprints at a scene. We know that oftentimes people who are committing murders aren't trying to leave souvenirs behind. That's one thing, but also conditions, the weather, where these things are found. If Florida is a humid place, it could impact the way fingerprints stick to certain surfaces. So as long as the prosecution lays out the absence of evidence and why that might be a issue that they're dealing with, the other evidence surrounding his comments and his motive are really going to tie this back into his potential guilt, especially if people are placing him at the scene of the crime and these recorded conversations that we're referring to. That's going to have an impact despite not having actual, if we discover there's no actual evidence of fingerprints or DNA at the scene.
Yeah, always a balance inside of that courtroom, and the prosecution, they have the burden to show this to the jury. Jo-Anna, thank you. We are going to get to that break. More of the Pregnant-Mistress murder trial happening in St. Lucie, Florida, next.
Don't forget to like and share this video, and for more legal insights, keep watching and subscribe to our channel.